Hello everyone, I am Kat. I'm a student intern here at the Libby Center for Entrepreneurship. I will be hosting the Insert Innovation podcast today. We're here with deep tech entrepreneur and futurist Kate Lynch. She is currently the co-founder and CEO of Launch and the co-creator of the Female Funders Club. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me. And with all this positive vibes in the background, it's nice.
Yeah. So the Insert Innovation podcast, we created it because we wanted to kind of get a more in-depth story about behind the success for entrepreneurs. And so could you give us a brief description about your company and the work that you do?
Yeah. So our focus is making a limitless economy. And if we think about Earth right now, right? It's a closed loop system. We have finite resources, space, all of that. And and thinking about outer space, that creates an open system, right? So then what happens if you can 100x our current economy here, or infinitely? Once you start to do things like off-worlding manufacturing, mining, and so you can break this limited resources paradigm. So my focus is how you build true, affordable in-space infrastructure to enable anybody who wants to get in space and other space companies to succeed.
That's awesome. Could I ask, how did you get into this, or when did you realize this was your passion?
My first word was moon. I want to go outside and I wanted to point at the moon. I knew I was going there one day. Mm-hmm. So wow. It started early. Did you want the story about this particular startup?
Sure, why not?
Okay. So several years ago, I was in an alternative propulsion startup that was privately financed. Mm-hmm. And on it, I had met the head of the Space Studies Institute. And I was so blown away because everyone thinks of entrepreneurial aerospace as Elon Musk, but there was actually a robust history before Elon and people doing launch and all this. So he's kind of standing on the shoulders of a lot of innovation, right, that happened before him. And this fellow he designed, built, and flew every aspect of the spacecraft. He built likely the most complex flight vehicle ever flown, $30 million in 3 years. Yeah. So what would take some people to 100 people, you might be able to do it with 15 people. Mm-hmm. So this was a different understanding. So he actually became my mentor. And this is something I recommend for students. Mentors is so important. So even though the financier didn't really care, I would drive every time he was at one of his companies in Torrey Pines in San Diego. I would drive hours because I live in LA just to have lunch with him and his wife and talk and learn, just absorb everything I could about how he saw the world, how he saw innovation, how he saw entrepreneurship. And that was it. I'm, not that school isn't great, but I'm less of a stay in class person and more of, I would just want to immerse myself in environments and people doing interesting things. Mm-hmm. Several years later, I was about to start a different space company with some very interesting technology. I generally partner, although I'm super nerdy, I'm generally the non-technical co-founder. Mm-hmm. I was telling Gary Hudson, my mentor, about this, and he brought me his life's work and asked me to be CEO. So it was like a really cool story. Mm-hmm. I already built the trust and all of this, and then once we kind of figured out a path, we worked together quite some time on this. My CTO, who is one of the most exceptional people in all of aerospace, really he helped develop GPS, space surveillance systems, X-37 program, people look it up. And his last company was Millennium Space Systems, and just incredible innovator. He's like 30 people in one. Mm-hmm. So then he came on board, and it's been, not all co-founding experiences are as awesome as this, but this is, I feel like I got smacked around a bit to find the good ones.
It's always the case, isn't it? Yeah. But yeah, in your own words, how would you define innovation?
What drives humanity, right? Humans have a core, some core needs, right? They need to explore, mm-hmm. and they need to innovate. Mm-hmm. We also have some, lower base needs, like maybe to dominate, or sometimes that's okay, but and then higher ones, like how can we, like consciousness or things like that. But if we're thinking about what has driven humanity further along since the dawn of time, right? It's this need to explore and to innovate. And so innovation is a form of creation. You're bringing something forth that has yet to exist, likely based on the back of previous things that were brought forth, so that you can enter, you can make things easier for people, or you can, just change. I mean, obviously, I would say how we're interacting with AI and going to a transhumanist future might change how one might view innovation. So in some points of view, it's the next evolution for humanity is merging with technology.
That's a great answer. It just reminded me like a conversation that I had with my friends a couple months ago where we were just talking about life and humanity. And I think I said that one of the most fascinating things like that I find is innovation and how like we're able to create something out of nothing and go ahead with that. And I think that's like one of the best qualities that humans have and like differentiate us with like other species. But
I love that you create something out of nothing, and you're correct. Just to like also give history of how exciting this is. So if we're thinking about, and also space has been a core driver for innovation, right? So a lot of the complex mathematics that led to calculus was created by, so in Babylonian times, they wanted to predict the future, and they actually figured out how to accurately predict lunar eclipses and time and all of this. And this, and obviously kind of what's considered like an ancient, first computer in Greece. Again, this is all about the movement of the stars and that obviously helped navigation. So space has long been ingrained in the human path to innovation.
In what ways has innovation played a role in your career or helped you attain your goals in life?
I think everyone is innovating in some way in their life, or they're going backwards, right? Because if you can think about self-innovation, right? Reinventing yourself and who you want to be and how you want to show up in this world. That is also a creative and intense work process. And that greatly, what you do to yourself also really influences how you innovate in the world. And I know I'm going off topic, but I strongly believe tech has the consciousness of its creators. So not only is it our responsibility, whether you're a technical person or, a strategist, working with deeply technical, whatever your role is, you have to be like level up and be a good person, and also learn about like how you hack your system in biology. I'm a biohacker, right? To be a better person and to bring holistic things. Because if you think about if we don't heal, like sort of, and this, I know this sounds woo-woo, but you're going to bring that into your companies, because founders create that company culture. It's hard to change culture later. And so whatever issues you have to work on, whatever, you need to transform within yourself, you kind of really have to do that in order to be a better and more holistic innovator. And then you can see the system as a whole. And what was your question?
No, that was a great answer, because, I mean, when people talk about like a company's brand, it's not just the company, it's the people behind it.
And the founders, the founders drive it.
Yeah. So great answer. But what was your inspiration behind founding the Female Funders Club?
Oh, yeah. So the Female Funders Club is a tech investment club for women. Women who are, VCs, LPs, angels, family offices, and women looking to start their investment journey in technology only, though. So when we're thinking about this future, we're merging with technology. And not that the technology that's being built isn't awesome, right? You've got Elon doing a lot of stuff, then you got Microsoft's version and Google's version and, of course, Zuck's version. Granted, a lot of that is a very surveillance capitalist kind of attention economy version, human alone is common denominator. But great, they're building certain things and, love a lot of what they're doing, not all of it. But that's not a world for all people.
Right.
And it's not intentional, like I want to lock these types of people out. But if you don't have other types of people building a future, cohesively together, it's going to be a future built by a certain type of guy for a certain type of guy.
Yeah.
We can even see that within AI. It's problematic, right? Like, I don't know. Like, I'll give you an example. For Female Founders Club, trying to have a female tech investor. They all look kind of underage and like they were about to go on a porno video, right? Like, I'm like, I don't know who looks like this woman. And maybe a couple, right?
Yeah.
It looked like, it's not that there's anything wrong with that, but it tends towards, you know, the sort of training what's on the internet, cat videos, porn, all of this, right?
Yeah.
And also the data labeling. So this is like an entire, I could go into the whole system of problem. So what future do we want to live in? Who do we want to be as a species as we merge with technology? Let's not just build things that automate and maybe like fuck with people's attention and become very addictive. Let's consciously think about what this is and what we want to bring forth. And the important part of that is that other type of people need to build and own the future. So, and I love, you know, like every type of person, not that, you know, like, I know people are like, oh, there's no pushback against white men, right? My co-founders are white dudes. They're awesome. It's more that other type of people also need to be elevated. So it's not put people down.
Yeah.
It's elevate others. So the Female Funders Club, if we're thinking about female founders got like what, 1.9% of VC dollars, but they have 3 times ROI as male founders, account for 12% of unicorns, actually a full year earlier. There's a problem there. That obviously isn't about people thinking like, oh, it's just like, because they're calling it meritocracy. It might be a meritocracy. Well, how do we see potential? So women aren't getting the funding they need to build things. And granted, there are less women in tech. It doesn't have to be 50-50. Hopefully we get more women in tech. But culturally, I think about 50% of women leave tech by the mid-30s. They often feel they don't have upward mobility or no flexibility. Anyways, I won't get into that. So the other part of it is women don't get into positions to allocate capital, right? So how do you make it cool, right? How do humans work? We like tribes, right? And we want to belong to a tribe. So what I was realizing, there wasn't, I do some deep tech events in LA too, because I love talking about semiconductors and quantum and novel forms of compute. And because it's the convergence of deep tech is what will make off-world habitation feasible. But if so, I started like, we need to build a community of women who are investing in technology. It needs to be cool. And also, and not that, you know, people are trying to be, not cuss, problematic, but I'll give you an example. There was an aerospace and defense day, like for SoCal Deep Tech Week, there was 11 people on stage throughout the day, moderators, panelists, and keynote speakers, all men. Not one woman, not even a token woman, right?
Wow.
and it's not, and that's all. Well, I asked a woman. I was like, I know tons of female founders, investors, women in the military. Happy to give you some.
Yeah.
So if women don't take, it's like you can't wait for somebody to open the door for you in innovation. It doesn't matter what you are. You're like you're whatever the status quo is. You're not. So if I don't create sort of the panels and community, like I did this deep tech investor panel, I just happened to curate all women, but it was like gender parity. Everybody loved it. They went nuts for it. I had to like throw people out. They hung out outside for 90 minutes. So that made it like all of a sudden it's like, wow, it's really cool to invest. I mean, like did you even know there were women? There are lots of actually women investors, you know, there needs to be more. But that community, and now all of a sudden the women are sharing deal flow and they're starting to build that community out. So hopefully, eventually we want to make these documentary vignettes on female investors, because McKinsey did a study that I think it was like 87% of women said they would go into this other field if there was a role model in some type of path. And there's a great book by Dave Epstein called Range, which is like generalists actually innovate the most. And if women heard stories like this awesome investment banker, I know, pretty powerful woman, pretty badass, moved to LA to be an actress and stumbled into finance. I won't tell the rest of the story, even though it's really funny because it's her story to tell. Or like somebody who runs a big family office is like, well, majored in interior design. Like sometimes things aren't linear. You didn't have to like come out the chute being like, I'm going to Wharton, MBA, Goldman Sachs, invest, and then investor. You could be like, wow, you know, like I've learned a lot about money. I want to empower, or I deeply care about, you know, solving this problem. And a big part of solving problems is giving them money to solve the problems. So that's the sort of idea, is like technology is awesome and let's build the community so people want to join. And then also like people come to me, like I'm doing a big deep tech event in March, you know, talking about quantum and AI and so we got all that stuff and aerospace, national security. But, you know, I know a lot of women, so there's going to be women on the panels. So I'm not going to wait for people to talk about the subjects I want to, which is like nerd stuff. And then I'm not going to like, I don't expect people to, you know, like throw all the women I know past. I start giving people visibility.
That sounds like an amazing project, let me just say. Going off of what you said about how it doesn't have to be like linear when you're going through it, do you think there's like kind of like an age limit of like becoming an entrepreneur, or do you think you could do it? Oh,
that's
like
awful.
Anywhere?
This isn't like you're not trying to join a boy band, right? Like you have a certain lifespan on, you know, like certain things like acting. Obviously, you age out. No, there are some people that become entrepreneurs way later in life. And I also want to bust this Zuck myth, right? Like, because it's great, like, you know, school dropout, great. A lot of companies that have startups that actually are very successful, CEOs are in their 40s, maybe sometimes early 50s. You don't really think of that as the narrative, right? You think, oh, it's like a 20-year-old who's going to change the world.
Yeah.
Well, it might be a person that's lived some life and tried some other companies and failed and succeeded in some areas. You know, like if you're, and then there's serial founders, so people in their 60s or 70s still crushing it. Right? So there's not this time limit. Skills, you do have to learn new skills. It's not like you start blank, but skills do transfer. I'll give an example. I have a friend who's in the film industry. She's in location. She went to work. She's incredible. But I told her, like, even over a decade ago, they said, you know, all entertainment's going to be automated out anyways. It's going to be a hobby. And she sees the writing on the walls. I said, you would be a great COO. Right? You are the first there, last there. You understand what everybody's doing. You know how to get contracts signed, legit, like everything. And she's like, COO, she'd never heard of it. So I started breaking it down. And she's like, I do that. I was like, I know you do. I do that. I was like, and you deal with really high maintenance people. She's like, yeah, I do. Great. You're going to know how to do this well. So she started like going into tech mixers, learned the lingo. I suggested some books about deep tech. And I'm like, maybe there's things you care about. If you care about femtech, maybe you try to get like an operations role in femtech, but you know how to do all of these skills that would make you a dream COO. You just need to learn a little bit about technology and how to transition and implement by being in the community.
Right.
So like, you know, step one is not just solving a problem, but get in the community, learn from other people who are building.
Can you tell us about a time where you believe like technology helped solve a major problem in the world, and what was the impact?
It solved a lot of problems. It creates a lot of problems. It solves problems, right? It's like whatever you build, it can be used for like, I don't want to say good or evil because a lot of things are gray area and I'm not into meme culture of polarization. So things are more nuanced. So I mean, for better or worse, I would think like society as a whole, right? Timelines. What wiped out a lot of cultures? One, it could be environments, right? Most people don't realize, but Peru had older pyramids than in Egypt, right? And they had like very advanced civilizations in the Americas. We just don't get taught about that. But El Nino weather would decimate, like would cause droughts or flooding or all of this, and you know, civilizations would go out. So that's one part of it. The other part is technology and who had better war equipment, right? So the Sumerians, right, got invaded by the Assyrians who had chariots, and they had better war technology, so they won and dominated. So part of it is like that domination. And I will say, we have to be realistic. War is the driver of a lot of technology. AI was developed by DARPA, and then obviously instantly goes to hedge funds for quantitative finance stuff. But you know, GPS, internet, all that's like military stuff. So I would love to live in a world where it's not like the military funding, but that's kind of how the Earth dynamic is right now, is that funds a lot of what's going forward. So innovation allows for security, allows food. There's a lot of things we have to solve for, you know, but I'm a space maxi. And all right, what else does it solve for? Here's a big one. Here's a big one that I love. Bitcoin, right? If you're going to be an entrepreneur or an investor, know what money is. There's a lot of people I talk to. I was like, do you know what the dollar is? Well, all right, fiat, okay. What's the dollar backed by? Well, I know we got rid of the gold reserve, but all right. Let's dive deeper. how was the dollar created? What is the Federal Reserve, right? Who prints the money? Who gets bailed out? Who's accountable? What is inflation actually coming from, right? Why are houses cost similar cost in gold, but dollars keep going up and up? So learn what money is, right? As an entrepreneur, as other, because you got to like understand there's a game being played, and some people are winning and some people are losing. And sometimes you think, oh, if I win this game, I win. No, no, no. The game's down here. This is, people aren't, generally, you have to get inside the game.
Right.
Understand the history of money. There's a great book, Debt, the First 5,000 Years, that will make you rethink all of money. And the reason that Bitcoin is important is because of the scarcity model, staves off inflation. And so it allows people to have money that goes up, up, up in value and not decreases, decreases, decreases in value. And now, you know, a lot of other countries are getting into the game. So I'm very bullish on crypto and space.
I love that. Could you share a story with our audience about a time you had to come up with an innovative solution to overcome an obstacle or solve a problem?
Yes. I would reframe this so people feel better about themselves. You have to innovate solutions every day. Like, you know, like a button bus, and you need something, you pull out a paper clip and put things in. Like, we constantly, like, part of what humans do on a daily basis is solve problems. Our brain, you know, creates some type of, you know, a lot of it, the majority of what we're doing, like whatever, 95% is automated based on similar, you know, pattern recognition, things that we go through the day. But there's all these little novel things that you come up with. You're like, shit, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
And you got to figure it out, right? So I would say that generally people have to solve problems all day. And where, you know, where your attention goes, grows. So if you just turn that attention to, I want to solve a bigger problem, like swing big, like a global problem, and what's the first tiny nibble I can get at that problem, then you're great. I don't know. I had to solve several problems coming, like financing, right? Sometimes you have to get creative with money, right? Like where do I get the money? I'm not the type of person that, you know, is the traditional aerospace looking founder. And I have a, you know, interesting background, all of that. I have to get very creative with problem solving, and then I deal with some very, you know, like really incredible people that aren't venture capitalists.
I have a lot of friends or student entrepreneurs who kind of like, how do I phrase this? They take a shot at something and they fail at the first try, and then they kind of just give up. Or they want to solve something big, and like you said, like they don't want to nibble at it. They just want to figure out a way to like solve it, and then they lose passion about it. So like, what advice do you have for that?
Grit. Okay. One, if you want to be a founder, get real comfortable with no, with people thinking, you know, saying condescending things to you, poo-pooing your idea. You also want to listen just in case they're right about something. But you know what I mean? So I would say a big part of this is grit and confidence, right? If you feel the need to be coddled and successful, you don't understand that effort is rewarded, and that giving up because it's a bad idea, that's not a bad idea, right? But just giving up and thinking, oh, things are too hard, I'll just do simple things.
Yeah.
Well, again, go back to that question. Who do I want to be in this world? What do I want to do with the limited time I have here, right? We all have certain gifts that we should like amplify. Don't think, and I should, this is, again, people are spiky. Everyone has things they're really great at. And, you know, with your employees or with your friends, you can't expect people to be great at everything.
Right.
Like, I'll put it in a funny student way. If you have friends you love to talk about your deep emotions with, but maybe they're not the friends that you like going to clubs with. Right?
Yeah.
And if you expect the club friend to have this deep, passionate, emotional, like, you know, where you feel very safe, like you're expecting everyone to be everything.
Right.
You as a person is not going to be everything, but you're going to be really great at some things. And more you cultivate those skills and fine tune and zero in, right? The better you can use those skills to build something you want. And if you like deeply believe in something, it's not just, oh, all right, I need to build something. I'm in college and I should go start a company. Why don't you go work for a really cool company where people are doing things and learn from people?
Right.
You know, like side hustle, whatever. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, but I would just like, who's someone who's crushing it? How can I go hang out with that person?
Right.
Obviously, you're not going to hang out with like, you know, a billionaire or whatever, unless you got like parents in the know or something, you know. But go find like, maybe there's local cool startups, right?
Yeah.
And you know, like try out some internships, try out some other types of jobs. I started working at a very young age. I've had every type of job, right? Like hilarious jobs too. Because I learned I didn't like a lot of them.
Yeah.
But I think when you're young, it's time to experiment, right? Experiment a little with your life, with potential. Maybe like women, like and men, we all have these belief systems that we grow up in about who our identities are and who we're supposed to be. And I'm not talking about gender stuff. I'm talking about maybe career stuff, right? Okay, you're not an engineer. That's fine. Why don't you learn a little about like what's crypto? What's blockchain?
Right.
Like it's something exciting. Or you're thinking you're deeply cared about like water. Like I care about water rights. What's some water technology? Just do a little study. Like every day, just take 5 minutes out of your day and study a subject you care about.
Right.
What's the technology going on? What are the problem areas? And just start learning, right? Like I read books every day. Like yes, physical books, right? And articles. I want to learn. I mean, oh, what are you up to? Oh, I'd love to come by and visit. Show me how you're doing this. Tell me more. Be curious, be hungry, have that grit, and don't expect that don't go after just to make a unicorn.
Right.
That's a dumb thing to do. Go after because you care a problem, but you probably need some experience. Sometimes students can do it. Sometimes you can do a small side hustle, but likely you probably need to find some really amazing mentors and work maybe not for a large company, but a small company that you think is doing cool things that you care about so you can see how it's done. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you have to do 30 things at once. Whatever you're not good at, you find somebody or you just have to learn it.
No, yeah, that reminds me of like I said, I don't study business. I don't study entrepreneurship. I'm a comm major and I'm studying advertising and journalism. And when I got this job, I didn't know the lingo. I didn't know anything. But then once I started working at the center, I was so inspired by just the passion and drive. And now I do know the lingo. And now I kind of do want to get into entrepreneurship. So community and environment definitely matters, and like great mentors here. And I think like they always said, like just get your foot through the door. Just try and get your foot through the door, and everything else will eventually like fall in place. But yeah, it's great advice. What new technologies do you think
I don't say everything falls in place. I'm going to be on that. Because I have some friends that are like, what will happen, will happen, right? Like, well, what can we do? I'm like, no. Like, your life is your daily habits and what you're going towards. So just say, well, what may come will come, or that kind of stuff. That is not taking agency over your life. So what will happen, if it'll happen, it'll just fall into place. No, things don't generally just fall into place. That is a big myth. Who is that person that I get it. If you get really into the quantum field, things will come to you. There's like that movement. But often it's like, oh shit, I just got punched by these right? Yeah. Like fall 7, rise 8, the famous Japanese proverb. You gotta problem solve. You gotta figure things out.
Yeah. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. So what new technologies do you think will shake up the aerospace industry within the next 5 years?
Mine.
I love that.
Well, it's true. It's like part of what we do is how can we really enable the space economy, and also part of it is national security and all of that. I think right now you have single mission vehicles. Space is monopolistic. You really need to have multi-mission vehicles. You really need to have net zero ways to get to space. Be able to do things like point-to-point transfer. There's a lot of things that are going to change.
So what new developments in the industry or in your organization are you most excited about, if there's not red tape around that?
Yeah. Well, my stuff, obviously, I'm excited about, but I think there's a lot of cool developments being made also in 3D printing. I don't believe you 3D print the whole rocket, this part. But and also material science and within AI. I think this is going to be really cool. So a lot of people got bullish on this technology and think you can build an entire system on it yet. Not quite yet. But I'm very excited about that future. Yeah.
What would you describe, or who would you consider your favorite innovator?
Oh, he has some problems, but I love Nikola Tesla. I got him on a sweater. I've got many favorite inventors. My co-founders actually are maybe them. Yeah. They're super cool. Maybe I'll say my co-founders.
Okay. And do you have any advice on resources or tools that could be useful for aerospace startups?
Well, I would just say startups in general. All right, so I will say in aerospace, there's a lot of myth. And this is why, obviously, everyone said SpaceX couldn't be done, and there was a Boeing mine, and then they shook it up, and there's a lot of things people say can't be done. So aerospace, number one, well, this is what I say. If you want to fill a niche and be excellent at it and be a great founder, understand systems engineering. It's very hard to find great system engineers. It's the same thing with quantum. I was having a conversation last night with a VC friend of mine on quantum. So how does everything integrate together? So if you understand propulsion, but you're like, oh, I'm going to build a spacecraft company, good luck, right? Like, unless you have great systems engineering, because it's when you have these complicated systems, you kind of have to develop the technology in tandem. Right. And so what I would recommend is, what different things do you need to learn about how everything integrates, how the whole system is, and it's great to have a niche specialty. You can go far, but if you're a great systems engineer, come talk to me. Yeah. I think that's your niche, always.
My last question for you is that, so a good portion of our audience are Chapman students and like entrepreneurs and community members. So do you have any practical advice for students who want to pursue entrepreneurship?
Well, you're talking to somebody who might have been awarded most missed days in school. Oh, no. I know. And also, everyone learns differently. I love, I love learning. I'm just not a classroom vibe type of person, but I know a lot of people get a lot out of it. I mean, my CTO went to MIT, loved it. Yeah. I would just say, be open and don't believe everything somebody teaches you. Do your own research, right? We all have beliefs from childhood that that block us to what potential is. And again, that's why I was talking about different types of founders and all of that. Right. Part of my specialty is I see that some technology or someone is special that a lot of other people don't get, because they have these blockers on what is potential and being flexible. So you have to be flexible in your mind and be open that everything might be wrong, right? So be open to evidence. Same thing with politics. So I'm in this. Be flexible, right? There might be some new information, because otherwise, if you become too adamant or radicalized about anything, whether it's certain type of technology, this or that, you're going to miss out on a great future. Right. So be open, be curious, read every day, make positive habits. Remember, your brain is your superpower, right? I'll give, maybe I take it hardcore. I don't drink alcohol because, one sip destroys brain cells, right? Maybe that's a extreme for people. But think about the causes you're making to your body. That you might not feel it so much now. Right. But if you want to be a great entrepreneur, you have to treat your body well, so your brain is well, right? You'll have to not eat processed foods. Limit social media. That will destroy your deep thinking time. I recommend getting off it. But at least turn your phones off at least an hour before bed. All of this stuff, it's a holistic approach to entrepreneurship. Right. You want to be profound in your thoughts? Garbage in, garbage out. Yeah. What's on your feed, right? These are very important inputs. Right. What are your inputs? What are your inputs physically, your body and to your mind? And think about, all right, where do I want to go in life? And what inputs do I need to get there? Don't just become a slave to automation within yourself. The body likes to automate out complexity. Whatever your goal is, I'm going to learn more about that. I'm going to go, and I always recommend go to events, right? People I'm starting to, I'm like, oh, well, I need to find I never see how to event. Well, no, I don't go to events. Well, how do you meet new people? Right. Oh, well, I'm on the internet. I'm like, well, that's helpful somewhat. But when you go to things if you want to learn about crypto, go to Crypto Mondays. Right. Be like, oh, I'd like to learn. Tell me more. Go read Creature from Jekyll Island. Understand Federal Reserve. Right. Go and meet the people. And it's okay if it's terrifying, but be bold. Right. Do a little reading before you go there, so you know a couple facts. A little bit helpful, right? But just go whatever you want to become. Seek that community. Seek that knowledge. Put that input in. Maybe a little less TikTok. I highly recommend. Those algorithms are powerful. Don't be on TikTok at all. Right. You want to succeed, get off of TikTok.
I love that. That's a great ending to the podcast. Well, thank you for being here today. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. It was great meeting you.
And I think I like your passion and enthusiasm and joy. This is the one thing I want to make sure, if I leave one thing besides garbage in, garbage out, right, is joy, right? Sometimes people forget, innovation is exciting, right? Deep tech is sexy. It's cool, right? So you can either do something in life and be like, oh, I have to do it, or you'd be like, oh, holy shit, I'm having the time of your life.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, think about your, directors of a movie. Wherever you point the camera changes what story's being told.
Yeah.
So you have to really think, like, what story are you telling yourself? Like, and enjoy. Enjoy the struggle, right? Bring it on, right? Obstacles make me stronger. It's like a different point of view.
I love that. And I did enjoy this podcast. Again, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
But yeah, we will see you guys in the next one.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for being the audio tech guy and video tech guy, AD.